tragic end of Rick MacLeish came on May 30th, 2016, when he died at just 66 years old. His daughter Brianna watched as he fought multiple medical problems, including meningitis, kidney failure, and liver failure. But before his life ended, Rick MacLeish lived one of the most amazing hockey careers you've ever heard about. This is the story of a man who became a legend on ice, but whose body paid the ultimate price. Rick MacLeish wasn't just another hockey player. He was the heart and soul of one of the most famous teams in NHL history. His story shows both the incredible heights of athletic greatness and the heavy cost that comes with it. Born on January 3rd, 1950, in a small town called Cannington, Ontario, Rick MacLeish was destined for greatness from the very beginning. As a young boy, he showed incredible skill with a hockey stick. His talent was so obvious that everyone who watched him play knew he was something special. When Rick was just 17 years old, he joined the Peterborough Petes junior hockey team. This is where his legend truly began. Playing under the guidance of coach Roger Nielsen, Rick became absolutely unstoppable. In his final junior season, he scored an amazing 101 points in just 54 games. That's almost 2 points every single game. His performance was so incredible that he made the league's first All-Star team. NHL scouts were watching closely, and they absolutely loved what they saw. In 1970, the Boston Bruins picked Rick as the 4th player overall in the NHL draft. He was only 20 years old, but professional hockey teams already knew he would be a major star. But Rick's journey to superstardom wasn't easy at all. Through a complicated three-way trade, he ended up with the Philadelphia Flyers instead of Boston. At first, things were really tough. Rick had to spend some time in the minor leagues, working incredibly hard to improve his all-around game. But he wasn't giving up. He knew deep down that he belonged in the NHL. Everything changed completely in the 1972-73 season. The Flyers moved Rick from left wing to center and put him on a line with Bill Barber and Gary Dornhoefer. This simple change unlocked Rick's full potential and turned him into a scoring machine. On March 7, 1973, Rick did something incredible. Against the Toronto Maple Leafs, he scored 7 points in a single game. That was a team record. But Rick wasn't done making history. By the end of that magical season, Rick had scored 50 goals and 50 assists for 100 total points. He became the first player from an expansion team to score 50 goals in a season. He was also the youngest player ever to reach that milestone at the time. Rick MacLeish had officially become a genuine superstar. The Philadelphia Flyers in the 1970s were known as the Broad Street Bullies. Most people think of them as tough fighters, but Rick was different. While his teammates were known for being tough, Rick was known for being smooth and skilled. He had what people called a beautiful, fluid style of skating. His wrist shot was both powerful and incredibly accurate. Fans absolutely loved watching him play because he made hockey look like pure art. Rick wasn't a fighter at all. He was a finesse player who could score goals in the most beautiful ways imaginable. Rick's true greatness really showed in the playoffs. In 1974, he led the entire NHL in playoff scoring with 13 goals and 22 points in just 17 games. But the most important moment came in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Boston Bruins. Rick scored the cup-winning goal that gave Philadelphia their very first Stanley Cup championship. The following year, Rick did it again. In the 1975 playoffs, he led the league in scoring with 20 points. The Flyers won their second straight Stanley Cup, and Rick was the driving force behind both championships. Rick's playoff records with the Flyers are still absolutely amazing today. He's tied for the all-time team record with 53 playoff goals. He holds the franchise records for playoff power play goals with 21 and playoff game-winning goals with 11. When the Flyers needed the biggest goals in the most important moments, Rick MacLeish always delivered. After his incredible years with the Flyers, Rick's career took him to several other teams. In 1981, after scoring 38 goals, he was traded to the Hartford Whalers. His scoring numbers went down, and he was traded again to the Pittsburgh Penguins and then to the Detroit Red Wings. When his career seemed over, Rick made a surprising comeback. In 1983-84, he returned to Philadelphia for 29 games. It was like a farewell tour. He retired in 1984 after playing with the Red Wings. Rick's final career numbers were truly impressive. In 846 NHL games, he scored 349 goals and had 410 assists for 759 total points. He was a 3-time All-Star and a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. But the physical price of this incredible success was absolutely enormous. Hockey in the 1970s was an absolutely brutal sport. Players didn't wear the same protective equipment that modern players use today. The game was faster and much more violent. Rick's body took a terrible beating over his long 14-year career. One of the most terrifying moments happened on April 1st, 1978, during a game against the Los Angeles Kings. Rick slid into Marcel Dion's skate and suffered a severe cut to his neck. The injury was so bad that it required 80 stitches to close 2 separate cuts. One cut was 3 inches long. Players were expected to be incredibly tough back then. Just 8 days after nearly losing his life, Rick was back on the ice for the season finale. He later joked that when he smoked a cigarette after the injury, smoke actually came out of his throat. This story perfectly shows how tough hockey players were in that era. Rick's injury problems started earlier. In February 1976, Vancouver's Harold Snepsts checked Rick so hard that he tore ligaments in his left knee. Rick missed the rest of the season and playoffs. Without their star scorer, the Flyers lost in the finals that year. This showed how important Rick was to his team's success. But the most serious injury happened completely off the ice. In May 1977, Rick was driving his van when he flipped it over in a terrible car crash. The accident fractured a vertebra in his spine. Rick spent nearly a week in the hospital and had to wear a full body cast for 6 long weeks. This car crash was much more serious than people realized at the time. Medical research shows that this kind of blunt trauma can damage the heart muscle in ways that don't show up for many years. The injury can cause serious problems with heart rhythm and greatly increase the risk of heart failure later in life. Rick's playing style was completely different from many of his teammates. While the Broad Street Bullies were famous for fighting, Rick focused entirely on scoring and pure skill. He wasn't a traditional enforcer who started fights, but medical research shows that all hockey players from that era were at serious risk for brain injuries, not just the fighters. Each year a player spends in the NHL significantly increases their risk of developing chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. Rick played for 14 long seasons, which put him in a very high-risk category for long-term brain problems. The constant hits to the head, even small ones, can add up over a career. Rick may have looked graceful, but his brain was taking punishment like every other player. After retiring from professional hockey, Rick's health problems began to multiply rapidly. In the early 2000s, while playing in a Flyers alumni game, Rick suffered a massive heart attack. The attack was so serious that he needed cardiac bypass surgery to save his life. Rick also developed diabetes later in his life. Managing diabetes is extremely hard for anyone, but it's especially challenging for former professional athletes. The condition severely affects blood sugar levels and can make other health problems much worse. Diabetes is closely connected to heart disease. When someone has both conditions, their health can decline quickly. The two diseases work together to damage organs over time. Rick's story shows how punishment during athletic careers can cause problems years later. The 1977 car crash may have damaged his heart in ways doctors didn't understand then. Combined with hockey stress and diabetes, Rick's body was fighting multiple battles. Despite health challenges, Rick remained connected to hockey in Philadelphia. He participated in alumni games when possible. Fans remembered him as one of the greatest players in franchise history. In April 2016, Rick was hospitalized with multiple medical problems. His daughter Brianna stayed by his side as he fought for 6 weeks, but his body had endured too much. On May 30th, 2016, Rick MacLeish passed away at 66. The official cause was meningitis, kidney failure, and liver failure. While doctors couldn't prove a direct connection between hockey and his final illness, the pattern was clear. But Rick MacLeish's legacy isn't defined by how he died. It's defined by how he lived and played. He was an artist on a team of warriors. While teammates were known for fists, Rick was known for finesse. Rick proved that skill and grace could win championships just as well as toughness. He scored the most important goals in Philadelphia Flyers history. He led the league in playoff scoring twice and helped bring 2 Stanley Cups to a city that desperately wanted them. His 50-goal, 100-point season in 1973 showed expansion teams could produce superstars. His playoff records still stand as testament to his clutch performance. Rick MacLeish's story is both inspiring and sobering. It shows incredible heights of human athletic performance, but it also shows the price athletes pay for our entertainment. His life reminds us that behind every sports highlight, there's a human being who sacrifices their body for their craft. Rick gave everything to hockey, and hockey fans were lucky to witness his greatness. Today, medical science better understands long-term effects of sports injuries. Players have better equipment and more knowledge about protecting health. Rick's story helps us understand why this progress is important. Rick MacLeish will always be remembered as one of the most skilled players of his generation. He brought beauty to a brutal sport and championships to a passionate city. His legacy lives on in Philadelphia hockey history and in the hearts of fans who watched him play.